Tape Deck Media.
And we are rolling. Chris Sainton Clark, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Welcome back to New Zealand as well. You've touched down a few weeks ago.
Not even that, it's been like 10 days.
A few days, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this your third trip?
It's my third time here and probably lasts for a while.
Yeah.
I've done the whole kind of like working holiday visa thing.
Yeah. Can you only refresh that every, like a certain amount of times?
There's different like requirements from different countries. So most countries can just get 1 year of working holiday visa, but there's like a Commonwealth agreement between the UK and New Zealand. I think it works the other way as well. Yeah. And we Brits can extend it for 3 years.
Nice. Basically. That's delightful. Yeah. I got a good laugh out of someone in a comedy club. They were in the crowd from England, and I said, "Have you come over to check on the Commonwealth?" And he was like, yeah. And I was like, how are we doing? And he's like, no, you've done nice things in the place. Yeah, so I might keep that in my back pocket as a bit of a stock line. I think it's quite funny. How did you settle on coming to New Zealand? Was there any particular thing that like you made the decision, or was it sort of just a random decision? It
was more my partner Daisy. She really struggles with like seasonal blues, I think, and like the ever ascending darkness in the UK. It's awful. Like, I think people always joke about it being cold and wet and miserable during the winter, and like the cold and the wet is fine. It's just like how dark it gets. Like it's like you can be like 3 p.m. and it can be like almost pitch black when it's the height of winter. Yeah, it gets so dark. Wow. And so I think we just wanted to like go somewhere else. I mean, we both kind of started careers doing events and theatre work, and so just wanted to go somewhere. So it was kind of between here and Australia, and we had friends that had just been to New Zealand. They just got back themselves doing the same thing, and it just seemed like the natural one that we wanted to go for.
And you enjoyed the first couple of years enough to come back a third time? So that's good, Yeah,
the first year was like properly travelling.
Yeah, you did like van life for a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, lived in the van for the whole 4 months, and just we arrived in Auckland and didn't know where we wanted to live. Yeah. So we just drove everywhere and kind of looked at different places and, saw whether we could see ourselves living there. And Christchurch was the place that we kind of like first thought we could maybe possibly live there for a bit longer. And then we picked up jobs in hospo there.
That's right, yeah.
And now we've kind of, kept coming back to Christchurch, made friends there, and it's feeling like another home, really.
Absolutely. Were there any other highlights that you saw when you were kind of travelling around, like places that you would recommend to others to check out?
Oamaru. I really like Oamaru.
I remember you told us, people are surprised when you say that.
Yeah.
But,
and I like it because no one told me anything about Oamaru. Like everyone always talks about, go to Milford Sound, go to like Northland, like
Nelson,
all these, Nelson, all these like key places. And we just stumbled across Oamaru. We're like, we've never heard of this place before. And then it was just like, it's just the coolest town full of like artists. There's so many artists doing cool things there. It's got like this weird steampunk theme to it. We were like, what the hell's going on here?
It's close to the Moeraki boulders as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's perfectly spherical. I don't know how those are formed. I should know this probably, but
I don't either.
They're I always found it so fascinating that they just let you walk up to those. Like it seems like that's a lot of trust in the public to let people walk right up to the boulders to me. But I mean, so far so good, I guess. Like I don't see any news articles of them getting smashed up or anything like that.
Just worn down over time.
Yeah, must have. Like, when you look at the stairs in the Tower of Pisa, they've just got feet, like impressions on the stairs going up. But yeah.
So we just really like that. And there's penguins everywhere in Oamaru. It's just really? Like all the penguins come in to nest. Huh. Like, so we were staying in a campsite, and I think it's around this time of the year as we're doing this in December. All the penguins just come in to feed their young, and they were all like living in the campsite, and like the whole town is just full of penguins. And there's footage of like in Oamaru of like penguins once they've fledged and they leave the nests of them just getting confused and walking into like gas stations and stuff like this. So it's just a really quirky town. I quite like Oamaru.
There was a great story of a penguin living in a town in Japan somewhere who, I don't remember exactly what happened. I think maybe the owner worked at a like a water park or something, and ended up looking after the penguin, and it decided to stay. Well, I don't know how much choice the penguin had,
Yeah.
but like they built like a refrigerated room for it, and every day it would walk to the same store and they'd give it a fish and then put one in his backpack, and he would wander home again, and then he would go back into his room. He seemed to know like where, the directions or whatever, like, although you would see him stop and kind of just like stare into space for a little bit, and you're like, I wonder what he's thinking about right there. And great little story.
That's so cool.
Another town that is Timaru. That's another one that has penguins, and I know I've heard news stories and stuff of people from overseas coming over and being like, Timaru is the greatest town in New Zealand.
Oh, really?
They love it. And Timaru is like a little bit of a punchline, I think, for the South Island. Maybe not as much as somewhere like Gore, but
right,
I think a lot of Kiwis wouldn't assume that Timaru's. I mean, I like it just fine.
I've only driven through it. Yeah. I've not actually stopped in the.
It's I like it just fine. And but yeah, another town which so coincidentally penguins and people from overseas like it. So there must be something about those two. Anyway, let's get on to what we were going to talk about. So you're running a theatre company. I guess you could consider it worldwide because you've done stuff in the Prague Fringe and you've done all sorts. So your theatre company is Raising Cain Productions?
Yes.
How'd you come up with that name?
I don't know if you know of these books called Skullduggery Pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, I used to read them as I was little, and they were Irish. I think they're set in Dublin, and they're about this kind of like underworld of magic and like it was like a similar kind of premise to like Harry Potter, other fantasy and that, but it was like it felt like a really dark and gritty
he's like a private detective or something, isn't he?
He's like an investigator, but he's a skeleton. And I just remember specifically in that book them talking about the phrase like raising Cain, and just to like mean to be different and like cause a bit of havoc and
kicking
cause
up
trouble
a fuss
and
kind of thing, right?
I've always remembered liking that phrase, and when I was little I didn't remember like anyone ever really using it, and then so when I wanted to start a company that was going to try and do theatre a little bit differently and a little bit more cinematically and like quite bold theatre, I thought it was a good little name for it.
Did the did the chicken restaurant opening annoy you at all, or are you kind of like
I didn't realise it until a little bit later on. Everyone kept talking to me about Raising Cane's and chicken. Like I'd get sent Google alerts coming up about chicken restaurants. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
I learned the origin of that name was the guy's dog was called Cain, so he just like had heard the phrase raising a Cain, and so it came from there.
Spelled different though. I'm CAIN and there's CANE.
True. So you've got that then.
So they're not coming after me with a lawsuit, right?
And I think it's such a generic phrase you couldn't hope to copyright it. And then even then you have to copyright in a specific industry. So you've got the lock on theatre there. I think.
I just won't start selling chicken.
Oh, damn it! I was going to pitch that to you after the show today. I noticed they really kicked off a trend in America. You see this a lot with TikTokers that do like eating videos. Is like every restaurant now you can just buy cups of their sauce, and it's like that feels like a real descent into kind of the end times to me of like, is this where we're at as a society?
A cup of
a soft drink cup filled with like ranch or whatever it is. It's brutal, eh? So how old were you when you started your theatre company?
So I was 20 years old. And
you are now...
I'm 25. So it was a lockdown thing.
Yep.
So I originally studied like backstage theatre. So I worked in like lighting and sound tech and stage management, and I was doing that at like a little theatre in North Norfolk in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd always wanted to like write and direct when I was younger. That was always my dream. I wanted to like write films and direct them and be in them, and I kind of just like through not really giving it a try, I kind of found myself working backstage. Lockdown hit, and I just kind of started writing.
Yeah.
And when things started to like open up a little bit again in the UK, I know our countries had different kind of timelines of when things kind of like were locked down and opened, and we were very like on and off all the time. I think it was a bit stricter for longer here.
Yeah.
But it was like brief like snippets of time where you could do stuff in the UK before you got locked down again.
I think we had less lockdowns, but they were a lot longer. And then, I only remember them flip-flopping a couple of times. But I think as well, you could still kind of go out in the UK, right? You weren't like sort of... I think you would get like in trouble with the cops if you left your house
Yeah,
or
in the depths of it, you could have one walk outside a day. That was like the rule.
Same as here. Then the government mandated exercise, or whatever my brother and I used to call it.
Yeah.
When you like sort of went from doing this, you working for a smaller theatre company to running it on your own, like, did you, like, I'm just curious about this about the UK, like, is it hard to get productions running on theatres? Like, do you have to know people, or can you sort of just approach them with like,
well,
here's my idea?
In my specific case, I approached the theatre that I had always done backstage stuff at, and so I went to the theatre director and I showed her the script, and she was really impressed with it and was like, you should definitely put this on here. So I kind of like had the green light as an unknown to any theatre to kind of go ahead and do something. But I got like, we have Arts Council funding over in the UK, so you can like apply for grants to do stuff like that. And so that was kind of how I did it. I'd say it would be tricky to get it straight into a theatre back home, but you can do anything at a fringe festival, and that's kind of your like way into kind of doing it. And then if it gets good recognition or some good reviews and stuff from a fringe festival where it is open access and people can do it, then you can start to kind of like get it into different theatres. Gotcha. Can you say how much the funding was that you get, or is that like a private? No. So, like it varies. It massively varies, basically. For my first project I did, it was a cast of 3 actors and me as the kind of director writer, and I did the tech, and that was going to be our little setup. Yeah, and it was a £3,000 grant for that one. So like not colossal amounts of money. That's about just over $6,000. Dollars here. Yeah, sounds good to me. Like, how long of a run was that? That was its initial kind of like rehearsal and development process. So it was 5 performances, and it just meant that I could pay those actors like the above equity minimum wage. We have a union in the UK called Equity. That's like our actors union, basically. Yes, and so I could pay them that wage. I could pay myself to do it, and it was really cool. So. And then I've done projects since then where I didn't always get the funding, and I kind of just did it anyway with like money I'd saved from like hospo jobs. Usually running out of money doing it. But that was why I kind of started to do solo shows, because I was like, I've run out of money to pay actors. Unfortunately. So I wrote a solo show, and then that's kind of been the stuff that's taken off more. Yeah, because you've got 2 that I'm aware of now. You've got The Night That Ali Died. Yes. And you've got A Year and a Day. Yes. Have you done any other solo ones? I have my comedy solo one, Pub Tales, but that's not really, I don't really do that with my company. I do that separately. That's kind of like it's almost just like a stand-up show, right? Yeah, but Raising Cain, it's just A Year and a Day and The Night Ali Died so far. And The Night Ali Died's brand new. It was made this year. I wrote it actually, finished writing it in New Zealand last year. Yeah. Started touring it in Europe, and we're going to be touring it in New Zealand this year. From the, are you going to do it in Christchurch? I'm trying. What do you need to make it happen? Like, is it a specific tech? Because you had some kind of tech on stage with you, or is it all mainly just in the... No, I don't have any onstage tech. There's a theatre I'm talking to. I'll talk to you about that after. But yeah. I want to see it, yeah. Just from the poster, it looks like it has John Wick vibes, but I don't know if that's just because you're wearing a suit in the thing. What I've tried to do with it, I've tried to make a theatre piece as like absorbing and cinematic as possible. Yeah. And to me, when like A Year and a Day did really well. That was the first one I wrote, and it's quite like it's a bit more profound. Like I tried to make it a bit more profound. It like follows a man who like leaps forward in time. Every time he goes to sleep, he goes forward a year and a day, right? Yeah. And so it's like it's a big grand sweeping story about like his relationship with his wife, who's rapidly aging and he's not, and it's quite like a poignant thing. And then with The Night Ali Died, I was a bit worried because I was like, I haven't really put anything poignant in it. I've just tried to like write a fun like thriller, and I thought maybe the script's going to be a bit weaker. And then once we got it on its feet, it's like everyone's told me it's the best thing I've done so far, and like so it's like that's really started to take off. And so it is just a thriller. It's like a cinematic thriller on stage, and I multi-role 4 characters, and they all tell a different perspective of what happened. Oh, that's cool. They're all like criminals and detectives, and yeah. Oh, how good. The
what I've found so far, like, because I don't have a lot of experience in theatre, but I've done a children's play this year with the Malt House in Christchurch.
Oh,
I think,
nice.
did I tell you about this or no?
No, I've heard of the Malt House, but yeah.
So I was the Papa Bear in a Goldilocks and the Three Bears thing, and it was my first ever time doing like, well, you know, we did a little bit of theatre in high school, but that was about it really. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work though. I mean, as sure as you know, like, and you know, I was literally just an actor in that. I wasn't writing or producing it or anything, but so then Steve Wilbury and I, have you met Steve while you've been in town?
I don't think I...
Steve the Magician. Steve and I are writing a kids show where he is a pirate and I'm a cowboy, and we're doing like a you know, the hunt for the treasure kind of thing, and it's the thing I find so fascinating about the theatre process is I think you have this whole script, like we had the Three Bears script, and I was reading it before we started, and I thought, oh yeah, it's all right. Like here it is on the page. But then I think there becomes a point when in the rehearsals where you're like, oh no, this is going to be a good show. Like you suddenly have like faith in it. It's not like you didn't have faith in it before, but it's something about actually doing it in person, and then you notice how many jokes there are or something, and like that is a really exciting moment. I think with theatre is when you're like, all right, we've got something here. Like let's see what we got.
But definitely after like the first audience seen it, and you're like, and you've actually had people like witness it. It's like, oh no, people like this. This is cool.
Yeah. The are you ever like? I guess it's hard to say, but the solo thing is probably like logistically easier to prepare. But like, do you ever think you would start to bring in other actors in it, or are you pretty
absolutely.
happy with?
Yeah. If I can, unfortunately, funding in the UK has gotten much harder to obtain now. When I like even the 5 years ago, getting Arts Council funding is a really hard thing to do, and I was lucky because I was doing it when no one else was really able to produce anything. So like there was a smaller, what's the word?
Oh, you're not like sort of competing for as much.
Yeah. And now it's like they've reduced funding, and there's more people applying, and it's just harder. Like, and they're looking for certain criteria. So it practically having a solo show because my partner Daisy, she does all my tech and operates.
Useful,
we as a unit can take it anywhere, and there's no set or props. I just need to buy a bit more costume again when I'm over here.
Yeah.
But the idea is practically that me and her can travel and take this show to different festivals. And
that's great, yeah.
But definitely I do want to do more with other actors. But I'm kind of just like not ready for that in a minute. Yeah.
It's very interesting though how like sometimes the result of something you did purely for practical reasons kind of works, and then it almost becomes like your calling card, and like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing now. But I think it's cool when that happens, especially if it's like something you kind of just did, and then you're like, oh, okay, people like that, cool, great.
I surprised myself with it a little bit. I was very nervous to do it, but yeah.
What's that like when you're about to like? Do you feel like it's a lot of pressure when it's just you as the only actor on stage, or because I mean you've done solo performances with music and everything like that, but how do you feel kind of before going up?
I always feel much better doing the serious solo shows than I do doing comedy.
Really?
Like, for me, comedy is a bit more anxiety inducing. Like it's, as you know, it's so different from every single night. You have a different audience. And there's different reactions. Some jokes don't always land. Jokes really land, and it can throw you off. Like everything is a little bit more unknown with comedy. And yes, with theatre, like there is a different audience every night. There is a slightly different reaction, but because it's a rehearsed script, and the point is you're trying to replicate the same thing again each night. Like there's more comfort in that to me. So I don't feel too nervous going on and doing that side of what I do. It's the comedy that I get a bit more anxious. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I'm the opposite to that, and like but it's because I've been stand up for so long. I'm very comfortable in like, if something's not going well, I know how to handle it in stand up because it's like, well, I guess I'm bombing now, and so you can kind of play with that, and there's kind of an art to bombing like gracefully, I guess. Yeah. And whereas like, I think the difference with me, especially with something that's just talking, where the audience is not required to react in any way, if they're just listening to you, I find that so uncomfortable because I'm so used to stand up where there's feedback every few seconds, where I'm just like, I hope they're still paying attention. I hope they're getting something out of this. And like, I had to do a few bits and put like the opening of the play was me. I think I had the first line in the show where he asks what time it is, and then the Mama Bear tells him it's 8:15 or something, and then I get up and I'm sort of grumbling as I put on my jacket and walking across the stage, and like that part, boy, I hated that part because I was like, "There's nothing's going on. I'm just walking across the stage. I hate this. But like, I think they're all just like, what's going to happen next? You know, like they're not overanalyzing it like I think.
Yeah, and
that's
and it's really interesting because I feel like the night Ali died. And A Year and a Day, yes, they're thrillers, they're serious, but I do like throw in occasional like little quips and just like funny bits in them. And then sometimes like people laugh at them and I get used to them laughing, and then there'll be a night where I'll just say it and there'll be nothing. But like it's normally the nights where that people don't laugh that I get the best feedback afterwards about the show. I feel like because they're more drawn into it than like so it's so different like from one thing to another, like comedy and
that's great.
Theatre.
One of the other things I've really gained an appreciation for about the theatre, and like you've met Dan Bain, where you've been
I've met Dan.
A couple of years ago now, I think it was 23 or 24, he put on a version of the Odyssey in the like outdoor theatre in Hagley Park. And the thing that got me a little bit interested in the theatre was that, like, you know, when you're doing the Odyssey, you've got monsters and you've got like magic and stuff you have to kind of represent on the stage. And so he did puppets for the, I think, Scylla or whatever the big sea monster is. And he did, you know, he showed like a big hand for the Cyclops. And like, I find that idea really fascinating of like how you're presented with a series of challenges with a theatre script. Like the Malthouse just did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And so the dwarfs is kind of a challenge because, like, do you get children to play them? Do you? And they ended up going for puppets, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually got to see the puppets backstage at one point, and I think that as like another one was a Sweeney Todd. Whenever he cuts people with the thing, I've seen things where they throw out these big red ribbons, and like, I find that infinitely fascinating about theatre. Is like, how do we make this so we can do it live in front of people without any kind of, you know, computer effects or anything like that. I find that really interesting. And
that was what I had no idea how to do. So like I'd written the script, and it's quite with A Year and a Day, and it's quite it's, as I say, it's cinematic. It's like a high concept thing, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm gonna actually portray this. And I hired a director who she studied mime for 2 years in France at Jacques Lecoq School of Mime. Her name's Rosanna Mallinson. She's just great. Like, she just like used all these like miming techniques that I'd never even tried before, like to build characters and do different things with my hands for different characters and like paint different scenes, just like using my hand. Like, it was like, so even though I'm talking and telling a story, I'm using stuff to subliminally, I don't know, give images to people like the way that mimes do. So I use her as well. She worked with me for The Night Ali Died as well, and it's just like it's been like a really good combo of having like a naturalistic high concept script and then something quite like physical theatre-y and weird and abstract to like bring it to life.
I remember years ago we were doing improv, like little exercise for improv, and I'm not really that physical on stage. I kind of just stand there, but a really eye-opening thing was like if you suddenly imagine yourself being unable to talk, and they'd give you these scenarios. Like I remember I was given a scenario of like you're a pirate on a ship and there's a kraken attacking the ship, and so I'm miming swiping at these tentacles and trying to hold things down and all that, and it's like it's actually staggering how much you can convey without really having to use words. And I always need to remind myself, like, you can do a lot with just like hands and stuff like that. So that's great. I love
to see like when stand-up comics like use mime as like just like all different noise. Like it's always interesting to see.
There was a a really good old comedy special by Rhys Darby. You know him?
Yeah.
So he's very good at sound effects, and he has this routine where he says he's like, I love mime, but man, I think the thing missing is the sound effects. And so he does like there's a wall in front of me, but then he does it with the microphone where he goes boom, boom, and, you know, as he hits the thing, and he goes, see, there's a wall there. And so he kind of talks about like, if you add the sound effects back into mime, suddenly it's really good. And he does all sorts of things of like him moving as a robot, and he's doing all the squealing joints, and he can do a helicopter sound, and all these guns and stuff like that. It's really, really good stuff.
Sweet.
But it's quite funny that the thing they need to add back in is the sound effects. Imagine, have you ever seen those actors who do like, normally they seem to be at theme parks when you're going in for one of those like live stunt shows, they'll have a mime who's just kind of messing with people. That must be a pretty sick gig, because like you've got your bits that you go to and you just kind of, you know, repeat them, but then also they always seem to make it kind of spontaneous.
Yeah.
At least appear spontaneous. I don't know.
And it's properly an art. I mean, people study that. People study miming and clowning and like all that. Yeah, it's really cool.
The next thing I was going to say is your tale. Well, it's called Pub Tales now. But it used to be called. I saw it when it was Tales from a Country Pub.
It started as Tales from a Norfolk Country Pub.
Really?
And then it went
so
Tales
you've just been refining the title.
Then it was Tales from an English Country Pub, and then it was Tales from a British Country Pub, and then it was Tales from a Country Pub, and now it's Pub Tales.
Wow.
So I'm not very good at making my mind up with that. But
have you noticed any difference with it getting shorter each time? Because like I think people don't really like reading to begin with, but then there's this weird trend with stand-up specials from New Zealand. I think Guy Montgomery started it, where he'll do some title that's like, he had this long title that was like 15,000 Guy fans can't be wrong or something like that.
Right, yeah.
Everyone started copying him, so now they always have these really long titles here. But you've kind of gone in the opposite direction. Have you noticed it's been easier to sell to people?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's been naturally building a little bit more traction anyway. And I just thought, I have it with my name as well. I always struggle to know what to do with my name, but like, I have just so many people just like saying the title wrong to me, like afterwards. I'm seeing Country Pub Tales, or like I'm seeing British Pub, and I'm like, I should simplify this just because of the sheer amount of people that are like getting it wrong.
The same thing happened with Tapeface. Do you know him? He's a mime actually.
Oh right.
New Zealand performer. He used to perform as the boy with the tape on his face.
Right.
But he went on like X Factor or one of those like talent shows. And they asked him what his name was, and he just shrugged and pointed to his face, and so they went Tapeface, and like that was what it stuck. That's actually really fascinating because you get a good insight into what sticks in people's minds by hearing them incorrectly.
Yeah.
Things like, I host a lot of pub quizzes, and I've noticed when people get something wrong, like 10 teams will all put the wrong answer, so they're all thinking the same thing, but it's the wrong, and it's like, wow, we really are like a hive mind in some ways.
They call it the Mandela effect, don't they? Like
yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do it with my name. People are like, because it's Chris Sainton Clark, but I always just get like, Chris, are you Chris Clark, or like, but yeah,
that's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it's a cool interest. Like it's different. It's a unique name, but no one can remember it. So is it too unique? Yeah.
Yeah, that is a tricky one. There was, do you know Taika Waititi?
Yeah.
So I saw a fascinating thing the other day. He would write a script out, and then he would put it in his drawer for like a year, and he wouldn't look at it, and then he would try to rewrite it from memory, because like what he says happens there is just you remember all the good bits, and the other shit, like, you don't keep it or whatever.
Oh wow.
And then I think he does that if he iterates that a couple of times, and then that's usually like the strongest version of the script is him just remembering all the good stuff from the previous ones. So like, in a weird way, I think you got that with the name of your show, because you'd probably hear the same 2 or 3 bits, and then it's like a Pub Tales, that'll do.
Yeah. And that show came about, like, this might surprise you. I never wanted to be a comedian. That was never anything I was going to do.
This, yeah.
I didn't set out to do comedy particularly. It was all about kind of like theatre and acting and writing, producing. And I started to like write. I wrote a song about like actually quite like a weird, uncomfortable experience that I had in a pub, but it was kind of like mocking that man. And so it was a little bit funny. And then I wrote one more just encompassing all the kind of like misogyny and homophobia and stuff that goes on in like, proper like drinkers' pubs in the middle of nowhere.
Drinkers' pubs, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
In England and Britain. And I just wrote it as like I think this would be a cool kind of like musical idea to maybe have like a bar and...
that's cool,
and a performer that kind of like welcomes you into the pub and talks about all this shit that he goes through, and I could like weave a storyline for it. And then I just took it to like a music open mic. It wasn't even a comedy open mic, and people just kept laughing at them.
Yeah.
And I'd write another one, and people kept laughing at it. So I was like, okay, I'll just this is a comedy show then.
Yeah.
Like, this is what people...
Do you find it difficult to rhyme and sort of write jokes, or does that come quite easily to you?
Rhyming is what's always come easy to me. I would write songs. I saw myself more as a songwriter initially than a comedian. I always kind of wrote stuff like that, but I just... When people ask me what I do, I kind of just... I don't say I'm an actor or a writer. I just say it like a storyteller, because that's always what... And as you've seen from like the songs, they're all like There is a beginning, middle, end, or a little twist or something. There are, it's not kind of like as abstract as a lot of other kind of like comedy musician stuff is. It's all about kind of storytelling. Yeah,
I was picturing it like, because I've listened to it the last time you were in New Zealand, and I had a real I had an image in my head of what the pub looked like. And so like you're just, and it's almost like as you're telling it, we're seeing in the theatre of the mind, we're looking at like all of these things. Like I very distinctly remember, is it your closer with the drag queen coming to town?
It's towards the end.
And that I remember really clearly, kind of just picturing the whole thing going on in the pub there, and it sort of ends with you having to go off to uni or something, is it? Or you have to, you as the storyteller, you're leaving the pub for a reason.
At the end of the show, I do like it's my leaving the pub song, and that was a song about me kind of like stepping out of doing that kind of stuff to do, following and doing my career. And
was that autobiographical to an extent? Like you're working in pubs when you were kind of getting all this theatre stuff together?
Oh yeah, and I still do. I mean, I'm still working, but I still pick up. It's very flexible. I pick up jobs in between doing shows and stuff to like, tide me over, because it doesn't, theatre still doesn't pay loads. Yeah. But yeah, I funded my theatre company initially whenever I couldn't get Arts Council funding, I'd fund it through my pub jobs and stuff like that. So there was definitely a lot of crossover from like doing pub jobs and beginning to do my career. And that song's about that. But it's also like full of comedy, that song, about like people shitting in urinals and having to deal with that. And like, why are you shitting in a urinal? Like, that kind of
one thing that I've noticed about it's another, you would have rugby clubs over in the UK, right? But are they? I feel like the impression of rugby lads is they're more like upper class guys that play rugby, right? Or am I just
back home?
Yeah.
There is a lot of that, but I don't know, it spans classes, I think, rugby back home. There are sports like cricket's a bit more upper class and stuff like but rugby, I think it kind of spans everything. Yeah.
There's this TikToker that does like rugby lads, and he's got this I don't remember what the accent is, but he's like, mate, oh, we're getting wasted this weekend, and I think it's quite a posh accent.
It's like brother, mate, like that. Yeah, it's like posh Cambridge.
Last one in the showers has got something my knob or something. He said it's like very like there's like a lot of homosexual undertones to it as well. I don't know if that's he's added that, or if that's
I would say that's more taking the piss out of like
is it like Clapham or something like
Cambridge
that?
And Oxford.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like the uni
rugby
lads, clubs there, and the rowing club and all that. Yeah.
And he always talks about mate, you should have seen it. He talks about his like highlights from the game before and all this kind of thing. I think he uses the word "scran my cock" or something like that a bunch of times, which is like scran is like eating, slang for eating or something. Isn't it?
Scran is.
Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But
no, I can see someone using that, but scran is like a northern term for food.
Yeah.
That now it's become more of like a slang, like almost ironically. I don't know. Like
the internet, right? Everything just migrates. Yeah.
But like there's a video that's just come out recently of the Japanese ambassador to the UK, and he's just in a pub and he takes a pint and has some chicken, and he just goes, "That's well good scran." In it. And it's just like in his like thick Japanese accent.
Brilliant.
It's like it's just become a bit of a joke.
Why did I start asking about rugby lads? It was something about
like people coming to the pub, like rugby.
Oh, so the thing I remembered is like rugby clubs here have this real distinctive smell, and I have no idea what it is. Like it's probably the type of beer that they serve, and then I'd imagine a lot of it has been spilled on the carpets. Yeah, probably like sweat to an extent. But like
beer,
I did a couple of gigs in rugby clubs, and I haven't been in rugby clubs. Like I'm not an athlete, of course, but I remember as soon as I stepped in, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like it's this real distinctive kind of, and like no matter where you go, they all smell the same. It's really bizarre.
Is that a fun environment to do a gig in, or is it a bit nerve-wracking?
So they weren't stand-up. They would be awful for stand-up.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, for people that are like the rugby club, it would be rough. It would be like doing a jonglers or something, I think, in the UK. But I was doing a fundraiser for the rugby clubs, so it's like more, quote unquote normal people that are coming out, and they were all good. Every now and then you get a couple of lads who get a little bit too drunk and start sort of dancing with a beer a bit too close to all my tech stuff. But other than that, most people behave themselves. But yeah, I think if you were doing a comedy show for like the members of the rugby club, you'd be in for a long night, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Pub Tales, I was going to say something else, but are you ever planning on like filming it as a special or anything like that?
I really want to record it as an album. That's my next thing, and I might even try do that here. My big thing is like, how do I go about recording it? I've tried it in different ways. I don't know whether I want to do it with a live audience. I tried that once to film like a live show, like the audio for a live show, and obviously I didn't communicate that well enough to the venue, because like I started the recording and then during one of the songs I could just hear, "I've got pizza for table 4," and I'm like, okay.
No. that is fascinating, because I've had venues that we do stand up in have kind of said to me like when I taped my last special, they were like, "How come you didn't want to tape it here?" And it's like, and I'm like, because you're not going to close down the whole place for me. You're going to want to keep opening, and like, you know, or if you do, you're going to charge me ridiculous money to like close down the whole thing for the day. And like, I've noticed we had Camille Solari. She was an American comic who lived here for a bit. She taped one of her specials at the Wonder Bar, which is this little venue in Littleton, which is our like port part of the town. And it's fascinating because you tell people on the night, "Hey, I'm taping a special tonight," and you would hope that would be enough to communicate for people like, behave yourselves. But people just don't give a fuck.
No,
like,
I don't know what that means.
I went into Dan Bain's taping, and towards the end of the second show, the group of people behind me were whispering to each other, and I wanted to go, "Shut the fuck up," because it's like you're in the presence of a taping here, like, you know, but they're more worried about what are we doing after this, and you know, what are we going to get to eat after this or whatever, and it's the average person, there's like, maybe they don't understand, like maybe
even if they weren't filming, that's like rude to be just
but that's an interesting one, because like the songs are good on their own, but like, I think you definitely would want, I like your idea of having like a set in like a little theatre, like somewhere like Andromeda or something. You could probably do like a little bar setting or something like that.
I've been listening to like lots of other kind of like stand-up comedians and how they, comedy musicians and how they've kind of recorded stuff before. So Flight of the Conchords do like, it's very, what's the word? It's more produced in terms of like there's more stuff going on musically, and I don't feel like I need that. And
no. You just got like a backing track and a guitar, right?
Yeah. Bo Burnham's obviously like done stuff with like, you can hear the audience, and Tim Minchin does stuff with audiences in the background. I don't know if it would just be all right, just me and a guitar, because that's how I do the show. Like whether I just record that acoustically, and I mean, it'd be cheaper and easier to do that. So I that's what I really want to work on next, is getting Pub Tales recorded as something that I can put out into the world a bit more.
Have you got any ideas for other albums that you want to make, or anything that's like what you've got next? Because I've just kind of started I've knocked it into shape. I think I've got the next hour kind of like forming. And so, anything you're looking at?
I'm kind of just slowly, and you'll see it already here in New Zealand, I'm just slowly adding my funnier songs and replacing not as funny ones from Pub Tales at the minute, until I've got a point where there's two different shows. So it's still Pub Tales at the minute with some new stuff. Anything, I want to do an album that's just everything pub related, and then one that's just kind of the newer, sillier stuff.
You were doing something quite cool on TikTok where you were doing like the week of the news and like a song I saw that and I was like, oh, I wish I could do music. It was great.
Yeah, the musical headline. I don't know why I didn't keep it up. I just get busy. I start to do these things, and
it's the grind of like.
It's the theatre as well. It's like it's constant. I've kind of like, it's a double-edged sword really, because I've set up two things that I can do and take to different places, but it does mean like my time's like really split between them, you know. But I was doing like a thing where I'd like sum up the month of news headlines as a little song.
Those were awesome. I really liked them. And then are you still looking at your I guess you're doing the run of The Night Ali Died. Have you got any other ideas for stuff you want to tease or anything?
Not for the kind of more serious side of things. I'm just really proud of The Night Ali Died at the minute, and I want to just focus on getting that into more places. It will do a full Edinburgh Fringe run in 2026. It's touring all the Fringe festivals, well, not all of them, but most of the Fringe festivals here in New Zealand.
Brilliant.
I'm kind of just like focusing on like getting that into as many places as we'll possibly take it, basically. It's
a question that we always get a lot from as creatives, but like, where did the seed of the idea for like A Year and a Day and for Ali come from? Like, what? I'm just kind of curious as to what was the thing in your head that you went, yeah, there's probably like a play in this.
I always really struggle to answer that because I can never really remember. Like with both of those shows, I started a little, not really a podcast. It was a podcast, but kind of like a anthology series of rhyming. I call them rhyming stories, rhyming bedtime stories for grown-ups.
Nice.
So they were like dark tales that were all in rhyme. And A Year and a Day and The Night Ali Died were two of those episodes.
Cool.
But they were very like a much smaller concept of it. And what I've done is I've kind of like just built upon both of them in different ways until it's kind of like become a play. So it was never really like a eureka, I should write. Yeah, it's never, I find it really muddy to think about when actually that process started happening. Yeah.
That's really interesting because I remember listening to someone talking about, Marvel's become this giant, fucking, it's going to be all of entertainment soon. But the reason they keep the comic books going, even though it's, comic books haven't been profitable for God knows how long.
Yeah.
The reason they keep it going is because they've got an idea mill. They've almost got like a beta testing thing to test the storylines out. And then the ones that do well, like there's, for the last 20 years of Marvel stories, all the big ones are now becoming like movies. Like I think Secret Invasion or something is what they're doing now. And then there was like, there's an X-Men storyline called House of M that they'll probably do eventually. And like, all the kind of like, what is it? They separate the chaff from the wheat or whatever. And it all becomes, I'm guessing it'll become movies. Like, so that's really fascinating that you were kind of, because you probably had, 20 other stories that didn't go on to become anything else, but you had these two kind of gold ideas when amongst them, and you went,
it was
great.
6 again. I don't know why UK.
Yeah, UK. Sorry,
6 shows, and I don't know why I was like, I'll do it as well. I'm a Brit. I was like, 6 stories is enough to come up with.
Love it.
So I kind of did that process. So I was just like. But it wasn't like I fielded it for other people. It was just like, no, actually, I liked those 2 stories.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if they stuck out to you, then there's something there.
Yeah,
we did Joketober this year, which was a joke every day in October. That was like, some of these ones were like egregiously like poorly written and poorly. It was like some of them were. I got to 11 o'clock and went, oh crap, I've been busy all day. I better put something out there. And like. Then when you comb back through them again, you're like, okay, maybe there's 5 or 6 of them that I could turn into like a routine on stage or something like that. So I think there's definitely something to be said for like that idea of like, you just throw a bunch of stuff out there, and then maybe 1 or 2 of them will be kind of like something you can develop. And I think that's a cool way to do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much 43 minutes there.
Cool.
We can probably wrap it shortly, but so this will be dropping probably tomorrow or something.
Oh, nice.
What sort of plugs have you got? Where can people find you and stuff like
that? So I would love to plug all the shows that I'm doing here whilst I'm in New Zealand.
Yep.
I've got, if you want to find The Night Ali Died, you can search raisingcainproductions.com. All of the tickets will be up on there. I'm doing New Zealand Fringe up in Wellington. I'm doing Nelson Fringe. I've got a gig in Kaikoura at the Mayfair. The Ink Box at the Oamaru Opera House.
Nice.
And Dunedin Fringe as well. So that's touring around there. And then to find my comedy pubtail stuff, if you go to ChristopherSaintonClark.com, and you can see them all up on there. I've got my main pubtails gig at Good Times in Christchurch on the 17th of January.
Nice. Very good. That's sort of after we've wound back up geared back up for the new year.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I recommend it. I watched it and it was fantastic. So yeah, do yourself the favour and get out and see that. I think that'll be it then. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Chris.
Sweet. Thank you for having me.
I had a lot of questions about kind of you starting out your theatre career. So this has killed 2 birds with one stone. We got some content out of it and got to have a chat about theatre. So thank you for joining me, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.